This is the lesson video for topic 2, and keep in mind that some of you may not need the lesson videos. They're meant to support those of you that would kind of like to have more of a traditional lecture for the topics. And so know that these are optional in my mind as long as you are following through all of the sections here. So oftentimes you will hear professional programmers talk about code smells, and those are the things that make your code hard to read and hard to debug. And so review these topics here about code smells and just use these good programming practices: white space, descriptive variable names, indentation and spacing. You will hear us talk about making your code self-documenting, which means if you use good variable names, you don't have to do as much you don't have to add as many comments to explain your code. And so Java rules and conventions for creating identifiers are the same as used in Coral, with one exception. In Coral, functions were named with a capital letter. In Java, they are going to be used or named using camel casing. So you're going to see us using Java functions or Java methods named using camel casing. And then these are the rules for identifiers that we've already talked about in this course, but they're there for review. There's some videos that are going to cover the difference between Java data types and constants. This page is showing you some different examples and also telling us the difference between what we call a strongly typed language versus a dynamically typed language. A strongly typed language forces you to declare a variable before you use it. Coral and Java are examples of that. You cannot use a variable unless you have declared it. A dynamically typed language, you don't have to declare the variables ahead of time, and the program will determine what kind of data type you need based upon the context and the use for that variable. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it kind of messes up. And so there are different times when you use one of each. This particular video will talk you through all the primitive data types in Java. We are not going to use all of them. The ones that we use most often are going to be integer, double, float, char, and boolean. Char is a character and boolean is a true/false value. Please note that we also will use a reference type, and that's a string. It's a reference type, meaning that it's actually a special predefined class of in Java, and it has its own methods that we will use. And so primitive data types will hold the values of data directly. A reference data type will hold the reference to the information through a variable. And so if you do C++, you might be familiar with the word pointer. A reference data type will hold a reference to the variable that points to where the data is. There will often be methods used with reference types, and we will talk more about that. And then constants are declared in Java just like they were in Coral I should say that they are named like they were in Coral, meaning that in Coral we used all capital letters for a constant. That is true in Java, but also note that you're going to add this keyword final in front of it. So when you declare a constant in Java, you have to use the keyword final. This video will show you how to do that. Your equality and relational operators, that would be all of your less than, greater than, etc. symbols, are covered in Java. So all of those relational operators are given examples in this particular video. Those relational operators are the same as they are in Coral. If you will also see us utilize these W3 schools resources. So for example, if I click on this, it's going to tell you about all the Java operators. And so it's going to talk through the arithmetic operators, which are going to be your add, subtract, multiply, divide, modulus, increment, decrement. Increment and decrement are new in Java. When you use a plus plus or minus minus, it will automatically add one or decrease by one. And then there's a little sample here. And so you can try, this is like you're experimenting in Zybooks, you can try it out. those links are going to be kind of important. And actually, I'm going to go back. There's also assignment operators. And so it's kind of showing you on this screen right here that you should look at operators and all the subsets, and then Booleans and all the subsets. So that would be looking at assignment operators, which is assigning values. And in Java, there are some shortcuts. If I do x is plus equals 3, that is the same as x is assigned x plus 3, which means that it adds 3. So if we have x equals 5 and I do x plus equals 3, that's going to add 3 to 5, and I'm going to get 8. And so this W3 Schools offers you kind of like an interactive environment like your zyBooks did to experiment in. So to make use of that, and so look at comparison, operators, logical, and then you don't have to do all of these right now. Like, you're going to come back to this, but just know that these links are to this W3 Schools tutorials. The other one we asked you to look at was Booleans. A Boolean is a yes or no or a true and false. To declare a Boolean, this is a new data type that you haven't worked with before. You have worked with true and false values when you made questions, but you did not work with literally declaring a Boolean data type. So just like you declare an integer or you declare a double, you can declare a Boolean. And so those are the topics to look at here in your W3 Schools for this particular page. Output and concatenation, watch the video, don't skip it, very important. And then outputting, formatting, special like to 2 decimal places, this is going to be optional. It is not as easy as it was in Coral to output to 2 or 3 decimal places, but if you would like to learn how, use this page. At the beginning of every program, we want you to comment your header. And I don't know if this is the end of topic 2 or the beginning of topic 3. So I'll just mention it right now. You're going to comment, use your academic integrity comment for the beginning of each header, and name each of your Java files with your like first initial, last name, or maybe your instructor just says you can use your initials, but this is an example of KO hello world. I just used my initials, .java. So don't leave your program, your Java source files named as capital main because it makes it a little bit harder for us to grade. And your first assignment, this is still in topic 2, is going to be a Hello World program. If you watched the videos on using the IDE and you followed along, you basically have this program completed. And so what you are going to do is go to your zyBook. In your zyBook, you're going to either work in your workspace, or this particular program does have a another workspace dedicated to it, so you could link into that, and the instructions are going to be here. And so what you're going to do is open up the Java Hello World Zylab. That's going to be this Visual Studio Code environment. You are going to add the course comment. You're going to create unique variables to hold an integer, a double, and a Boolean that will be used to create a personalized message. Use descriptive names with your variables. Use, for example, when it's a Boolean variable, we often name it with a verb. So like is too young, am hot, is a pet owner, something like that. Assign values to your variables. You can use more than 3 variables, but 3 are required. And then you can make one of your variables, or it tells you here to make one of your variables a constant. So go back and review that section if you need to. And then craft at least 2 output statements. So the very first thing that you're going to do is to rename this Java file. Because remember, we want you to use your initials. So like KO, and this one's going to be hello world. You're going to get a message that asks you to refactor, and you want to do that because watch what happens right here with the main is it changes. So the name of the class changes, and then you'll go from there. So how to do that is in the videos that have been throughout the course. And then when you get done with that, you will right click on this file and choose download. And then we will also ask you to take a screenshot of the code and execution for your submission. That will wrap up topic 2.